So this talks about the different types of materials we can build on this foundation. So on this foundation of Jesus Christ, we see there's 6 different types of materials that we can build upon. And so we see there's 3 good treasures in heaven and 3 bad treasures in heaven that we can able to store. So first step is we do works, and then they become treasures in heaven. And once they become treasures in heaven, we will today I'll be talking about the economy of heaven. You may be thinking, what are you talking about, the economy of heaven? And so this sermon or this message is based off this verse in Matthew chapter 6, verse 19 and 21. So it says, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." And so, today I'll be sharing about the economy of heaven. And, when I say economy of heaven, I'll be asking about, how does money work in heaven? You may be thinking, what do you mean by money work in heaven? What are you talking about? And so in the verse 19, we see it says that do not lay up for yourself treasures on earth. So it says, do not lay yourself treasures on earth. What are our treasures on earth, right? Money, right? We usually, all our life, we always work for money, right? We go to school, we go to college, and then we get a job. And the purpose of getting a job is to get money. And then once we do get that money, we spend it on different things. For example, we buy clothes, we buy food, we pay for rent. There's so many purposes of money that we have. And so first we focus on getting that money, and then we spend it, right? And so verse 19 says, do not lay up for yourself treasures on earth. Now, do not, so this verse is saying, don't focus so much on money on earth. Do not focus so much on the treasure. But verse 20 says, lay up for yourself treasures in heaven. Neither moth nor rust destroys, where thieves do not break in and steal. So it says, lay yourself treasures in heaven. What are the different treasures in heaven? What is the purpose of treasures in heaven? So what kind of things can we store in heaven? So that's the first question. And the second question is, having all those treasures in heaven, right? What do we do with those things? Are they just meant to just be there in the sky and then that's it, right? Do we just think about that? Well, can we spend it? Can we use it like how we use money, right? And so I want to talk about today. And so let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 12 to 15. So it says, "Now if anyone built on this foundation with gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, straw, each one's work will become clear, for the day will declare it, because it will be revealed by fire. And the fire will test each one's work of what sort it is. If anyone's work which he has built on it endures, he will receive a reward. If anyone's work is burned, he will suffer loss. But he himself will be saved, yet so as to fire." And so in this verse right here, we see that there's different types of treasures in heaven, right? For example, verse 12 says, if anyone built on this foundation. So what is a foundation? So we know that the foundation is Jesus, right? We know the foundation is salvation, right? That's why in the New Testament, in the letters that Paul writes, Paul talks about, the foundation is Jesus Christ, and that we build upon this foundation, right? Paul says in the Bible, that Paul plants, Paul's waters, and God gives the increase, and that everything we build on should be on the foundation of Jesus Christ, right? So that's what verse 12 is saying. So verse 12 is saying that if anyone built on this foundation of Christ, and it says with gold, silver, precious stones, and wood, hay, or straw. So this talks about the different types of materials we can build on this foundation. So on this foundation of Jesus Christ, we see there's 6 different types of materials that we can build upon. And we see, so going on that, verse 13 says, each one's work will become clear, for the day will declare it. So we see that, there's 6 different types of materials that we can build upon this foundation. So in our lifetime, we build upon this foundation. We build upon the foundation of Jesus. And the verse 13 says, that each one's work will become clear for the day will declare it. So this is the day of judgment. This is the day of that, the great white throne room judgment. And on that day, it says that the works that we build on the foundation will be tested by fire, will be revealed by fire. And it says that the fire will test each one's work and what it is. And so I'll first off say, that there's 6 different types of materials that we can build upon, right? Represents, different types of treasures we can store in heaven. We can store, gold, silver, precious stones, wood or hay and straw. These are the 6 different types of materials or treasures we can store in heaven. And as we can see, there's each of these are different varying levels of, goodness, right? Or the levels of glory, right? For example, gold is much more valuable compared to wood, hay, and straw, right? And so we see that in heaven, so many times when we think about, the verse about, storing your treasures in heaven, right? We just think about, just storing the good things in heaven. All of us just focus on how we can store good things in heaven, right? But this verse right here, it shows us that there's actually 6 different types of things we can store in heaven, and also shows the different types of qualities, the different qualities of the treasures in heaven. And so we see there's 3 good treasures in heaven and 3 bad treasures in heaven that we can able to store. For example, the first 2, which is gold, silver, and precious stones, represents 3 types of treasures, good treasures that we can store in heaven. While the last 3, which is the wood, hay, and straw, represents 3 types of bad treasures or less quality treasures in heaven, right? And so we can see right here that so the first thing I'll point out is that there's different types of quality of treasures we can store in heaven. So many people think, oh, we just store good things in heaven, oh, good things, and that's it, right? We don't think deeper upon it, right? But this verse is showing that there's 6 different types of materials, 6 different types of treasures that we can store in heaven. For verse 14 says, if anyone's work which he has built on it endures, he will receive a reward. So this verse shows us that, we store in treasures, right? So we store the treasures in heaven, right? So it's talking about the 6 different types of treasures, right? And so it says that if anyone's work which is built, which is, the 6 different types of treasures, right? So if any of the work which endures to that fire, right? So it says that the fire will test each one's work, right? So if that fire, tests the 6 different types of treasures that we store, right? And if it endures, so we know that the first 3 types of treasures is the one that endures, right? For example, gold, silver, and precious stones. So these represent the good types of treasures, right? So these 3 types of treasures will endure the fire. These will withstand the fire of purification, withstand the fire of the testing of God. While the last 3 treasures will not be able to withstand it. For example, it says wood, hay, and straw, right? So wood, hay, and straw are different flammable materials, right? For example, you can light a wood on fire, you can light up hay and straw on fire, correct? So we see that these 3 types of low quality treasures will not be able to endure the fire that God will be testing upon it. And so going back to verse 14, it says that whoever's work which is able to endure the fire, it says that he will receive a reward. And so that is what the next step in the economy. So on life on earth, right, we live a good life, we live a righteous life, we live a holy life, seeking God in worship and prayer and consecration and fasting and all these different things, right? And when we do those things, when we do the will of God, right, it allows us to store treasures in heaven, right? And so once we store treasures in heaven, it says that, the judgment day, that God will test those treasures in heaven, and then said that he will receive a reward. So we will receive a reward for the treasures that we receive in heaven. So notice the logic or the progression of the economy, right? So first step is we do works, and then they become treasures in heaven. And once they become treasures in heaven, we will receive a reward from those treasures. So if God sees that those treasures are high quality treasures, if God sees that these are noble, good things, right, then we will receive a reward from those good treasures. So the end results of the economy in heaven is to get that reward, in the end. But verse 15 says that if anyone's work is burned, he will suffer loss, but he himself will be saved. So this is talking about, all of us, when we accept Christ, we will get salvation. And even if your works, even when your treasures in heaven are not high quality, for example, say God tells you, to go pray for that person, and then you resist God. You say, oh God, I don't want to pray for that person. I feel kind of shy. I don't want to do that, right? Then we will get a low treasure in heaven, right? For example, when we disobey God, or when we don't listen to the prompting of the Holy Spirit, right? We are storing ourselves, low quality treasures in heaven. We string ourselves wood, hay, and straw in heaven when we disobey God or disobey the Holy Spirit, right? And then when we go into the judgment day, right? And when God judges the treasures we store in heaven, right? Those things will not be able to endure the fire of God. They won't be able to endure the testing of the fire, right? That he will suffer loss, but he himself will be saved. So even though you will lose that treasure, even though you will lose that wood, hay, and straw, you will still receive salvation, And so that, the more we listen to the Holy Spirit, the more we listen to God, he tells us to do things and not to do things, right? The more we store up the good treasures in heaven. And the more we store the good treasures in heaven, on that judgment day, so that we will receive a reward. Next thing I would talk about is, the reward. Right? What types of different rewards are there? Once those good treasures, or once those treasures will be converted to the rewards that Jesus wants to give us, right? What can we do with the rewards? Can we spend it? Like I was talking about, is it like money that we can spend, or like, what is the purpose of these things? And so that's what I'll be talking about in the next video. So the next video will be a part 2 of this series, right? So this video is about the economy of heaven. So I'm going to give a part 2 about the economy of heaven. I'll be talking about what are the different types of rewards that Jesus will give us. What can we do with the rewards, and I'll be talking about all those things. So if you guys really want to see that video, make sure to like the video, to comment down below. When you guys comment saying you guys enjoy this video, or want to see a part 2 of this video, it really encourages me to publish more content like this. And make sure you guys are subscribed so you stay up to date with all the videos I produce. So thank you guys, and I hope you guys are blessed.